Welcome to another session of Toxic Tuesday. Therapy for the people. My people. All people.
I don't want that static. I got stuff to overcome cause it's real traumatic. Yeah, I'm feeling more schematic.
I am.
Gotta flip my life around like it's acrobatic, right? I kinda like that tactic. Cause where we come from, we can't escape erratic. Nah, shooting ourselves like plastic. Just working on myself and I'm talking about practice. How we good with the baddest? Cause he did it for the people, never did it for badges. Word, that's the thing that matters. Now I'm serving y'all up like a truck with platters. True, this food for the fanatic. What you know about real, you too cinematic. Nah, chasing your dream, that's systematic. So even when I'm asleep, best believe I'm at it. Let's get this session started. Thank y'all for tuning in. What's up, world? It's the King Omar Sharif. I welcome you back to another Toxic Tuesday where we turn our bad into good situations. Toxic Tuesdays are all about you, your mind, your body, your soul. I believe if we can control those three things, we'll find happiness. Tonight on Toxic Tuesday, session number 25, a whole quarter's worth, y'all. We're going to be discussing something that I find in my research to be the common denominator in a lot of mental health issues, and that's anxiety. Wow. So our discussion tonight is going to be how to manage your anxiety while striving to be successful or maintaining the success you already have. So tonight's guest is a very, very special one, y'all. And who else better than to have somebody who has a degree in psychology, also somebody who has built her platform uplifting women, very big in women empowerment. Also, fellas, she also has some light to shine for us as well, so stay tuned in. No other than our special guest and my baby sister, so I know that she's very well versed in this subject, Tati Coakley. Welcome her to the show, y'all. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
What's up, girl?
I'm ready to talk.
All right, all the way from the West Coast. Here we are on the East. Two Jersey people in the building. So let's go ahead and get this show started, y'all. So tonight we're talking about anxiety, and firstly, let's talk about what that is. So anxiety is having a feeling of unease, worry, and just not being able to really have that type of understanding that things are going to be okay, right? Is that a good way of saying that?
Yeah, it's basically like the preoccupied fear of the future, but it can also be of the past and present. So I think sometimes people think that anxiety is always like, well, why are you so scared of what's to come? But sometimes anxiety can be about, did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing in the past? Or it could be, am I safe in this present moment? What about the moment after this? It could be
all moments.
Yep,
present, past, and future.
Yep.
Okay. So that's very important to understand. So if there's anybody out there that's having that type of feeling inside, but you can't connect the dots, that's what it's called. It's called anxiety. So has this been something that you've been dealing with personally, and has it been for a certain amount of time, or let's speak on that first?
Yeah, so I feel like I've been dealing with anxiety probably my entire life, but I didn't recognize what I was dealing with. So, I ended up going to a predominantly white school. Can I say that?
Say it.
Yeah, so I, they ended up moving me into, a school, and I think there is probably when I first started experiencing anxiety, because it was like, I don't look like them, I don't talk like them, they're making sure that I know I'm not one of them. So I think that's where I started experiencing anxiety, because I didn't want to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. I didn't know if I didn't feel safe in that environment. Then moving through life, we lost some people in life, and I think that abrupt loss of life was really scary for me, because that implemented an anxiety of tomorrow's not promised, and bad things can happen without you even recognizing it. A lot of things have happened in my life like that. I went through, my fertility journey, and so, getting early misdiagnosed with things definitely shook my safety net, I guess, and made me feel like, big things and trauma can happen at any time, so you need to always be on guard, because it feels like a rug pull if you're not on guard.
Right.
So I think that's where it started for me.
Right. So something that she's doing now, everyone out there, she's sharing her experiences. She's sharing her personal experiences. And I believe when you talk about these things, it kind of allows you to manage them a little better. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think because I was having so much anxiety about having anxiety that sharing it is like, okay, well, at least there's something off the table. Like, at least it's not a secret. And I think when you open up your personal battles, there are other people that are going through the same thing. And so having the community be like, oh my God, girl, me too, was definitely something that helped me in my process. So I always encourage vulnerability, whether you got a big platform, a small platform, in the middle, there's always a community out there waiting to hear your story.
Definitely. Thank you for that. So I do have some questions for you on
Okay.
top of what we already just asked you. So what were some of the strategies or techniques that you found most helpful in managing your anxiety?
Great question. So one thing that I always tell people is like a 3-3-3 method. So
Okay,
that's
what is
like
that?
a basic technique that I would say is super helpful in the moment of having anxiety, where you can look at 3 things in 3 different realms. So 3 things that you can see in front of you, 3 things that you can hear, and 3 things that you can feel. So
Wow.
for me, if I'm starting to feel something coming on, I'm like, okay, pause, I'm gonna take a breath. What are 3 things in the room I could see? And don't go for the obvious, the couch, the floor,
Right.
and the ceiling. I'm looking for something small, like a crack in the ceiling or a piece of dust
Something
on
that
the
you would
floor.
really have to focus into.
Yes, so it's taking your attention away from what's having so much on your
Nice.
mind. So I'm looking for 3 things that I can see. I'm thinking of 3 things I can hear, because even in the moment, you hear my voice, but there's other sounds in here. There's
Right.
the little flickers in the fireplace, it's
Right.
the air conditioning. It's things like that that really helps you ground yourself back into your environment. And then 3 things you can feel, whether it's feeling your legs, feeling what's around you, your hair, your skin, something to bring you back to self, because anxiety brings you away from self.
So in case you didn't write that down, that's seeing, hearing, and touching, 3 things that can help you kind of distract your mind from going into rooms that you don't want to wander, right?
Yep.
All right, that was well said. So did you have role models or sources of inspiration that helped you in your journey towards managing anxiety?
Um, I would say that's a difficult question, because I think by the time I realized I had anxiety, I was like an adult. And so I think
Okay.
when it first hit me and I was looking for the role models, I didn't know what I was looking for. So I didn't know to look up someone speaking about anxiety tips. I didn't know what to look up. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to look to, because I didn't know what I was dealing with. Especially in our community, I feel like mental health isn't talked about a lot. You know, it's something that our own family had to grow to learn more about.
Definitely.
And so I think I didn't have what I needed because I didn't know what I needed. I think now there are a lot of psychologists in this space, there are a lot of people in this space, and there's also family, you know, y'all's outlook on life. I listen to how you remain calm and knowing that everything's going to be okay and everything's going to work out. I think the role models are probably closer to you than you realize. I think it's just about being observant and knowing what you need, so you know what you're looking for.
Realizing that they're there.
Right.
Your support groups are a lot closer than what sometimes we imagine they are, right?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So that was a good one. What did you learn about yourself through your struggles with anxiety, and how did this self-knowledge help you succeed?
Deep question.
We going deep tonight, Ty.
Yeah, I'm like, we get into it. Okay, what did I learn about myself? Okay, so something that I learned about myself is that, I think I've felt like I always had to be the fixer in life. I don't know I'm still learning where that comes from, but I think I felt like I had to be the fixer. I had to always fix it for everyone else, and maybe that is what stunted me in learning how to fix it for myself, because it's a lot easier for me to hear everybody else's problem and be like, oh, this is
Right.
exactly what you need to do,
Rather than internalize what
than
you're
hearing
dealing
myself.
with.
Yeah, so I think it was easier for me to coach others than coach myself. And so I think I learned through the anxiety that I'm quicker to overextend for others than I do for myself, and that empties my cup. And if I really do want to be this nurturer that's able to help all those around me, my cup has to be full first. So I think I learned that I drain my cup a lot. I think that I learned the need for control. So for me, it's like a lot of my trauma, and I know that's the common thing for a lot of people, but the trauma makes you feel out of control, especially unexpected trauma. So then after that, we're looking for it wherever we can get it, whether that's through what we eat, whether that's through the type of media we consume, whether it could be whatever it is. And so I think I realized that there are a lot of small vices that I use, whether they're typically recognized as vices or not. Like recently I've been changing my diet. So I've been trying to eat healthy and stuff like that.
Everyone, please change your diets so we can
Yes.
live longer and live healthier. And before you keep diving into it, I preach on the channel a lot how what we intake affects not only how we are physically, but it affects how we are mentally, right? So make sure that you are implementing a healthier diet so you can have a healthier lifestyle.
Amen. I've been recently changing my diet because of that, and I realized that I didn't realize how bad my diet was beforehand. It was just snacking and snacking and eating and all these sugary foods and all these things, and I think that was a vice for me because I wasn't really in control at school. I wasn't in control of what was happening in my life trauma-wise, but I can be in control of how many cookies I eat. I can eat as much as I want to. I can be in control of what snack I want today. I could just go in on that, and that gave me a sense of like, I am in control. And so I think
Even though it was bad for you.
even though it's bad for me, at least I'm making the choice, you
Right.
know? And so feeling like I don't have a choice is definitely scary. But for those of you that are spiritual, something that also helps me is knowing that God has the final say and the final choice. And so for me, surrendering to God and his choices is what allows me to make better choices because he's guiding my path in a different direction in
Well
that way.
said.
So, yeah.
Beautiful, Tati.
Thank you.
And I think that most people, most of us, there's not many things that people really have control over in their lives, right? Most people aren't working the jobs that they want to work.
Right.
Their boss is saying, all right, be here at 9 o'clock, get off at 5 o'clock. You know what I mean? So that's just one example of the things that we really don't have control over, which is why when you get in relationships, often people are trying to be controlling over the person that they're with,
Right.
Because they don't control their own lives and their
Right.
own happiness and the things that can uplift them. So it's easier to say, hey, you do what I told you to do. You know what I mean? We'll save that for another Toxic Tuesday.
Right.
I don't want to go too deep into that. So let's see here. What advice would you give to someone who is currently struggling with anxiety and wants to handle it better?
I would say to be comfortable finding the root of where it's coming from. Because I
Yes.
think a lot of us are trying to solve the issue on the surface and there's a lot of weeds coming underneath it that's ruining that garden. And so I think you can't resolve what's on the top without looking at what's underneath it. I think that's something that I ducked for a long time because I'm looking for, you could do the 3-3-3 method that we talked about, but what's causing you that anxiety in the first place? Like now let's get to the root of that and then do the 3-3-3 when it comes up. So I think a piece of advice I would have is therapy. Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm always an advocate for therapy.
So am I.
There are a lot of resources like BetterHelp, Psychology Today. There are a lot of resources online that will help you find therapists that take insurance, that don't, that are in your location, that are online. There's also websites called Therapy for Black Girls and Therapy for Black Boys if you're looking for specifically black, professionals in this space. I would always suggest to get a therapist, and if you're not in a space to do that right now, start with a self-help book, start with something, start with a journal, ask yourself why questions. When you're feeling any type of emotion, anxiety, anger, sadness, pause and ask yourself why, and then why again, and why again, and why, and keep digging until you find the root of what's causing these secondary, tertiary emotions.
This is very good. Now, as I'm listening to you talk, you mentioned things that our licensed therapist of the show was discussing as well with the techniques,
Yes.
with your 3 techniques. He had techniques. So I can see that there's a common denominator in how you're talking. And I think that's beautiful, you know what I mean? Because what you're saying is very true. And I hope that somebody out there can be receptive to it and implement some of these things in your lives. That's what this is all about.
Amen.
All right, and let's go with how has dealing with anxiety impacted other areas of your life? We're going to go a little deeper here, such as your career, being an influencer now, amongst many other things, relationships, all right, my little brother-in-law to be one day possibly, and your personal goals.
So start with the easier one, which is probably my career.
I knew that. That's why I put that one first.
Yeah, that was a buffer. I think with my career, my anxiety has probably halted me in my life, being vulnerable as far as like certain risks I was willing to take, maybe like the glass ceilings that I may have placed on myself that, oh, well, this is as high as it's going to go when there's really, it's
In
limitless.
your head, didn't even know you were about to do it.
Exactly. So I think probably putting limits on myself that I didn't need. It's always important to remember that we are limitless. And
Yes.
so I think anxiety has probably stunted me being able to remember that, which I'm working on. Second easiest would be personal goals.
I knew I should have put relationships last.
Yeah, personal goals would be second easiest because the anxiety of maybe not giving myself grace when I don't accomplish them. So maybe if I wanted to do this, and this week, but one day I was just having a lot of anxiety and I couldn't do it. The harshness on myself the next day, oh, you didn't do what you said you were going to do, and now that means this. I think
And then
that,
you blame the anxiety again because that's
Exactly.
like your biggest enemy within your mind.
Yes.
And you like, anxiety, you got me again today.
Yes.
Is it like that?
Yes, it's almost like a abusive relationship with my anxiety. It's like a toxic cycle that we have with each other. And so I've explained this going into relationships. I've explained this to my boyfriend with, I think anxiety is its own little person in me. And so it's really like little Tati. It's like she stayed with me because she feels like she has to protect me when I didn't feel protected. So when no one could protect you from certain things in life, right? People passing away, things like that were happening. There's nothing we could do to prevent that, but I didn't feel protected. So I felt, forgetting that God is always protecting me. So she lives in my brain with me because she's trying to prevent me from feeling that type of hurt again. And so what I explained to my boyfriend is little Tati, which a lot of us have, little whatever your name is playing tug of war with Tati now. And so because I've worked the muscles in little Tati for so long, she be pulling hard, and so
Tug
it's
of war.
really easy. Yeah, and so it's really easy to fall onto her side because she's tugging, because she's doing it because she loves me and because she doesn't want me to fall, but she doesn't realize by pulling me so hard I'm falling. And so I think strengthening the other side of the rope is very, very important, not enabling the other little Tati on the other side of the rope, and also knowing when to ask for support to help you pull towards the healthier side of the rope, because sometimes you can't do it by yourself. That new you is too new. It's not as strong. It's weaker. These are muscles you haven't worked as much as you worked the muscles your whole life of self-doubt and negativity and anxiety. Sometimes you need people to help pull you out. So in my relationship, that's something that I've had to speak to him about, and he's been great with helping me pull on the other side of the rope, talking me off the ledge of the fears of what ifs and the worst that could happen. Sometimes you need other people to come in and reassure you that you're not your thoughts, and you'll get through it.
That's very true, because I have a friend that I tell things like that too. So while you were talking, I was thinking about that. You know what I mean? And this was somebody, she's a friend now, but I was in a relationship with her, and we talked about trauma earlier, how a lot of us have that in our lives.
Yeah.
And when you just mentioned running away from the new you to revert back to the person that you're most comfortable knowing, because you're still trying to identify the new version of you, and you haven't fully accepted it yet because you're still battling that monster inside of you. So when you just said running right back to it, I mean, that's where the support comes in, where you have to have people in your lives that say, hey, I'm here for you. You are not that individual anymore that you used to be. Or even if you are, I can see who you can be tomorrow. I just need you to see it more clear as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes you need help with the clarity of that, and I think sometimes the new you is a stranger. And so it's like, ooh, I don't know you, I don't trust you, I don't trust that you're going to be able to guide me where I need to go. This person right here has been holding me down for 10 years, 20 years, however long. This version of me got me this far, so it's safer here. And so I think it's being willing to take the leap into the stranger's arms of the new you.
Yes, well said, Tati. Okay, so this is another big thing that I mentioned, and this is also has something to do with support groups, right? Because we got to be big on supporting each other here, right? So this question is, what role did therapy or other forms of professional support play in recovery?
Everything, literally everything. I could even get emotional thinking about how much I owe my therapist, like my life, literally,
Wow.
she has just completely taken me out of a world of just expecting the worst every time. She's shown me a way of, you don't have to expect the worst. And something that she taught me that I realized in vlogging and talking to myself about this.
We'll put up her different things at the end of this, but
Yes,
keep going.
but I was talking to myself on the camera, which I also think is very healing. But when I was talking to myself, I was realizing she's helping me change my relationship with perceived bad things. And so for me, I explain to her all the time that with anxiety, it's really just waiting for the shoe to drop, that second shoe to drop, the ball to drop.
You know it's going to happen, you just don't know when.
Exactly. And it's always bracing yourself for that ball to drop, because that's perceived as bad. That's perceived as painful, and you don't want to go through that. But what I realized through therapy is that she's changing my perspective on the shoe dropping. It's changing my perspective on what a drop is, on that sometimes the shoe has to drop, and that's to push you into some new shoes.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I think it's changing your relationship with expecting the bad to happen, because the bad has to happen for the good to happen. She's also helping me realize, like, life is about the bad for the good, and the ups and downs.
Yes.
The ball can't go up if it's not coming down. And the metaphor of like a heartbeat, like going like this on the monitor, is like, you wouldn't want it to be a flat line.
Right.
Like, that's bad. That's really bad. If things were all just smooth all the time, we wouldn't be here.
Well
so
said.
it has to go down to go up, and things have to go up to come down. And I think that's just changing my relationship with what downs are, and maybe appreciating the beauty of a down to get an up. So I think, if that makes any sense,
It makes perfect sense.
therapy has changed my life. I'm definitely still working on it. It is a process, but it's given me the hope to know that there is a world where I can embrace my downs as much as I embrace my ups. If that
Beautifully said. It makes perfect sense. So even with that, I often find myself feeling that way. That's how I know we're siblings, because we think alike in a lot of aspects.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. So, like you said, in order for life to be balanced, there's going to be good and bad. You know what I mean? There's going to be good days and bad days.
Yeah.
But overall, I believe there's a lesson and something there to strengthen you, regardless of what's happening before your eyes, right?
Yeah, every
So-
time. We wouldn't appreciate our ups as much if we didn't have downs.
Exactly.
Like, happiness wouldn't feel as good without sadness. And so
Exactly.
it's about appreciating the sadness and knowing that the happiness always comes afterwards.
Remember that song, y'all? Let's show a little old school. Joy and pain, right?
Yes.
Sunshine. Wait, what? And rain.
Amen.
All right. Another good one. What self-care practices do you currently incorporate into your life to help maintain your mental and emotional well-being?
You know what's funny? The biggest thing that I do personally, it's not going to be for everybody, is something that came from childhood. And so I think the reason I'm going to bring it up is because a lot of times the thing that will help you most, you were probably doing as a child. Because I think as children, we are so much more intuitively tapped into ourselves before the noise of the outside world comes in, that we really truly know what we need. Like, our body really speaks to us better. Our mind-body connection is so much better as a child. But as a child, when I would feel anxious and things like that coming home from school, I would just lock myself away in the shower. And I would just turn the shower on for like 2 hours. Expensive and wasteful, so don't do it all the time. But
And she still takes long showers like that, y'all. Everybody knows if she goes in the shower first,
You should've
no
went before me.
hot water in the house, y'all. You're going to have to wait till tomorrow, but go ahead.
but that's still something that helps me, because I think sometimes when there's too much space around me and there's too much going on and everything's in my space, my mind feels cluttered and it doesn't have enough to quiet itself. And so if I bring myself into a small space like the shower and I sit down in it and I put my phone down and I just sit and I breathe and I have nothing but hearing the sounds of the shower, I think it forces me to like declutter my mind and face what's underneath it all, if that makes sense.
So I just learned something about you, Tati.
What?
This entire time, I'm just thinking she wants to make all the water cold in the house. I didn't know she was in there actually having a therapy session with herself, having self-love and trying to declutter. I didn't know that.
That's why I'm in there so long.
Wow.
It takes me a moment. I have to get in there. I have to sit down. It takes me a moment to even declutter, because I have to really focus. It's meditation. I'm really meditating.
Yeah, it is.
I'm focusing on the water sounds. I'm closing my eyes. I'm breathing. I'm trying to release the bad and keep what the nitty gritty is. Then I'm dealing with what the nitty gritty is. Then I'm releasing that. Sometimes I envision, then I get up and I shower. And sometimes I envision the water like washing away the negativity off of me, or all the bad thoughts that I'm trying to release. I envision it like cleansing me. Like, it's really like a session for me in there. And so
Sounds very spiritual.
it is. And I've been doing it since I was like 7. Like, you know,
Wow.
since I was a kid, I would go in there with books or anything to just like declutter my mind. And so I think that's what works for me, because I've been doing that since I was a child. And so for you or for people that are viewing, think about what you did as a child, because your child self really knows you better than anybody. And so I think the answers are probably right within you. Just go back to how you can nurture your inner child, because all of these issues we have, all of these traumas that we come with, all stem from our wounded inner children. So we just have to take care of them.
So while we're seeking support, we also have to seek self, y'all. Seek yourself, all right? And then you'll find a lot of your answers. That's what you just said, right?
Amen.
All right, we're getting closer to the end, but I do have a couple of more.
Okay.
I like how this is just flowing along here, right?
Period.
How do you stay motivated and continue to grow and evolve as a person, even after handling your anxiety better?
I think by recognizing that my anxiety is something that is going to live with me forever. And I think accepting that. I think for us, it's like we just want to get rid of it and I never want to see it again.
I'm healed.
Yeah, we want it to be ED, the past. Like we want it to be it's done. But I am healing. I'm not healed. I'm actively healing. I'll always be healing. There's always going to be something I can learn and do better when I'm 100. So I think it's changing your relationship with your trauma and let it grow with you. Like it's always going to be there. It's always going to come with you. I always talk about how we have our little people versions, we have our teenage versions, our young adult versions. We carry all those versions with us. They're all supposed to evolve with us. We're not supposed to leave any of them in the past or
You gotta know
behind.
how to manage them, though.
We manage them and we give them what they need. We nourish them in different ways. Whether your inner child needs to go play on the swings because they need to let that out, give it to your inner child, go play on the swings. Whether your young adult self needs support and friendship and to cry, let it happen. And so I think changing my relationship with just wanting to be done with things and wanting to be healed and never think about it again into nourishing and nurturing those things and giving them what they need so that they can give me what I need and grow with me.
So what are some of your proudest accomplishments or achievements since elevating where you are today?
As far as anxiety?
I mean, you've been dealing with this your entire life from what you're
Yeah.
saying. So just think about the progress and what the process has been like
Yeah.
to getting where you are, even though you always wait for that floor to drop underneath
Yeah.
you.
It's funny you say that because my therapist always tells me that when I'm like, I just feel like I'm just not growing. I'm just not getting where I need to be. Like, I'm still dealing with this. She's like, I don't understand how you forget, like, all the progress that we've made to get here. So it's a good question because it forces me to reflect. But I think even being able to move across the country was something big for my anxiety. I didn't really have anybody out there. There was nothing that I could do, but it was something that I needed to do for myself. I needed to take a bet on me, and thank
Which
God I
had
did.
to be hard, though, because you're always looking for the worst to happen. So leaving your family and leaving everything that you know as your life behind and waiting for something bad to happen had to be like major, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, when I got there, I was crying. I was not happy, but I felt like I needed to tough it out for myself. You know, like I had trauma here as well that I feel like I was just looping and living in, and I just needed to do something for me that had nothing to do with anyone but me. And I think that was a big, step of progress for me. I think being able to stay there was a big step of progress for me. I think
Now
being
you're,
able,
what, 2 years there?
yeah. I think
Progress again.
I think being able
And you
to,
love it there.
yeah, I it comes with its ebbs and flows, but
Right.
I thrive there. I'm creating my community there. I have my relationship there. I think is where I need to be right now. And even with my relationship, I think that's a big step of progress for me. Being able to be with someone who works in the industry and is not always right next to me, and I can't always have access to them. I think the anxiety of that, and well, what if we can't communicate, and what if this happens, and what if this
Right.
happens. Letting that be what it is and still sticking that out and toughing that out and pushing myself to, thrive because I care about somebody, I think, and not running. I think that's progress for myself. I think being able to talk about it is progress, and talk about the things that gave me anxiety is progress. So I think there's small wins, there are big wins, but being able to get up another day and try again is a win in itself. So I think that's probably my biggest accomplishment.
You also mentioned that you feel like this will be something that you'll be dealing with for the rest of your life. What makes you feel like that?
Because I think anxiety, a lot of people who have anxiety are just dealing with it, we look at as a foe, like it's my enemy. But it's really not, it's really a friend. And I think anxiety is the overprotective mom that's trying to make sure you're okay. It's the helicopter mom that doesn't want you to sleep over people's houses. And it's that. And so you wouldn't cut your mom off. You wouldn't
Right.
be, she's always gonna be your mom. But it's changing the relationship and understanding why your mom is acting like that in the first place, and helping your mom release some of those thoughts so that you can mend together and grow together. And so I think I look at anxiety as like my overprotective mom and my overprotective inner child, and that's always gonna live with me. But that doesn't mean that it always has to be a toxic relationship. I can improve my relationship with my anxiety so that she's not a toxic mom to me anymore. She's a supportive mom. She is nurturing, and I nurture her back. I think we can't always just try to like deny that, you know, we have the trauma that we have. We can't change the past. We'll always remember the things that happened to us, but we can change our relationship with how we feel about those things. So that's why I say it'll always be with me, but I'm hopeful that my relationship with it won't be toxic forever.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
And any final words that you have for anybody out there that's really dealing with the same things that you've been dealing with? It could be inspiring. It could be whatever you know what I mean?
I would say find what makes you feel purposeful and powerful in this life, and let that guide you. So for me, it's God. For me, I feel spiritually divine. I know that I'm here for a reason, and so when I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm feeling like out of control, I remember that I'm supposed to be. You know, I remember that I'm not supposed to be in control, that surrendering is not weak. And so surrendering to my purpose, surrendering what I feel like I'm here for, helps me know that whether something perceived is good happening or bad's happening, it's happening because it's supposed to be happening. So I think surrendering to the process, surrendering to life, surrendering to everything is the biggest piece of advice I can give in anxiety, because anxiety is truly the opposite of surrender. It's trying to be on top of it and control it and stop. Letting go and flowing with the current, not up the current, is the best way to ease your mind.
All right, y'all. That's a wonderful show. Now, Tati, also tell people where they can find you, because you give very good advice, and your channel was just everything that we just discussed, right? And you guys can get all of this information just from watching different videos on YouTube, and that's at Tati Coakley, right?
Yes, you can find me on Tati. You can find me on YouTube at Tati Coakley. You can also find me on TikTok at the same thing, and on Instagram
At the same thing.
at the same thing.
All right. And she has a lot of followers and subscribers, y'all. We would love for you to be another one.
Period.
All right. So that's the show for today, Toxic Tuesday. Hopefully now you'll be able to understand what anxiety is, and you can still be successful while you're dealing with it. All right. And I'm the King Omar Sharif. I'm so thankful to have you on the show and to
Thanks
have
for
you
having
home with
me.
us. Let's give love real quick
Hugs,
before we
hugs,
go.
hugs, hugs.
Just don't get no makeup on.
I know.
All right, y'all. Join us again. Well, join me again next week. And who knows? Maybe I'll have another special guest. Maybe not as special as this one. Hard act to follow. But as always, y'all, that's love.